Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 182. We're talking right now with returning guest Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Nick Kalikas is a professional MMA odds maker and a consultant for numerous sports books, and also joining us over the phone, Adam Martin, MMA analyst, and he is also with MMAOddsBreaker.com. Josh Burkman and Hector Lombard. This is another interesting matchup and an interesting line. Right now, Lombard minus 700 as the favorite, and I guess that's to be expected. Lombard is unquestionably among the elite welterweights right now. Burkman, though, does have a history of getting wins as a big underdog, and he'll give a reasonably tough fight here to Lombard. Lombard, question is he a dominant monster or not? If he is just an awesome dominant monster, then you wouldn't want to take a shot against him. If he's maybe a little bit shy of that, then maybe Burkman at plus 500 would be worth a small shot. What do you think, Adam Martin?
I really like Hector Lombard here. I'm not even swayed by the plus money on Burkman. I just think Lombard just honestly crushes him in this spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because Burkman hasn't been knocked out before, and Lombard obviously has a tremendous amount of knockout power. So that probably is the way most people think he wins. But I kind of feel like he's going to wrestle his way to a win again, like in his last fight against Jake Shields. I mean, that was just nothing but impressive. Jake Shields is an extremely good grappler. He's a guy that's very tough to deal with. And Hector Lombard manhandled him. He was slamming him down 3 rounds. It was just painful to watch. Just wasn't even a competitive fight. He's just absolutely dominating him. Burkman, obviously tremendous grappler, but I think Jake Shields is a much better wrestler. And I think that, Hector Lombard's judo background, he has that ability to take the fight to the ground. I think he's going to do that here. And like I said, he has that knockout power if the fight stays standing. The only way I think Burkman wins this fight, if he can manage to get like a guillotine choke again, like in the last fight, just get his arms around Lombard's neck. Burkman is extremely talented in the grappling department, but Lombard's never been submitted before. I don't think it happens here. I like Hector Lombard here. I think he just, like I said, dominates this fight, and I think the UFC wants him to get an impressive win, and I think they want him to get that title, maybe the next title shot, but definitely be in the top 3 or 4 of the division. I think he's just a monster at 170.
All right, I can't really disagree with you. It's just that does Burkman's history of gaining upsets, winning fights he wasn't supposed to win, concern you at all?
Not really. I mean, people do disrespect him in general. He's looked very impressive overall, I think, in the last few years in the WSOF. He was the champion for a little while there. Like you mentioned, he had that fight against John Fitch, just knocked him down and choked him out in about a minute. That was extremely impressive. He had a few other upset wins in WSOF. I guess in the back of my mind, maybe I am underrated Burkman a little bit, but I don't know, man. I just think stylistically, this is just a bad matchup for him. Hector Lombard is a guy no one wanted to fight Hector Lombard. The UFC had to sign Josh Burkman from World Series of Fighting to get him in the octagon to fight Lombard. Like, no one wants to fight this guy, and that's because he's just a scary, scary beast. And I think he wins the fight. He's scary, man.
Absolutely, but so is a minus 700 favorite line betting into that. All right, Nick Kalikas, where'd you open this line?
I would around minus 500 for Lombard. And again, he got bet up a little bit. And it's, again, hard to not see why they bet on Lombard. I mean, like Adam just mentioned, who ragdolls Jake Shields? Nobody does. And Lombard did that. I mean, that was impressive. I mean, almost to the point where, I mean, it's not that surprising, but it's almost shocking how dominant he was in that fight, really. And Lombard's explosive. I mean, 170 seems to be the right weight class for him, honestly. It's a shame that he is getting a little bit up there in age, and he hasn't come, didn't make it over to the UFC and at this weight class sooner, because the guy's, he might be the best welterweight in the world right now, but there are some flaws in his game as well. And what's unfortunate for Burkman, because more than likely Burkman's going to win this or lose this fight. But he could definitely make a comeback and make some waves, I think, in the welterweight division. It's just stylistically, it's a bad matchup because of what, Hector Lombard brings to the table. But getting back to his flaws a little bit, Hector Lombard, his cardio and conditioning has always been a little bit of a question mark. I think it's a tad bit overrated. But he does tend to get a little bit inactive at times, and his inactivity kind of drives me nuts because, the judges, the way they are sometimes, even if, look at his fight against Tim Boesch, for example. In that fight, I know it was a higher weight class or whatnot, but still, that just kind of sticks out in your mind that judges can butcher decisions because of a lack of inactivity and because of various reasons. They find a reason to give the fight to somebody else. So in that aspect, if this fight doesn't play out and Lombard does not keep it on the floor, even though he has a great chance of finishing fights standing up, I think that if he gets a little bit inactive, he could be in a little bit of trouble. I don't think that's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. Again, I think that I could see the action being justified on Lombard, so I do think he's going to win this fight. I think he can win by decision. I think he can win by knockout, and I don't think he's going to have too much trouble. But I think the line's getting a little bit carried away because Burkman does have a lot of knockout power in his own right. Again, he's not known to be a fierce striker, but the guy is explosive. He's a decent athlete in his own right. He definitely has knockout power. And on the ground, like Adam said, I mean, he puts people to sleep. Putting John Fitch to sleep, how impressive is that? Rocking him first, of course, but still, I mean, nobody's really been able to do that to a guy like Fitch. So that's impressive. I mean, you could see the natural ability of a guy like Burkman, and he's put in the work. The difference between this version, in my opinion, of Burkman in the UFC and the previous version is Burkman takes the sport a lot more serious now. He's putting the time in the gym. He's training with decent training partners as well, and he's elevated his overall game. So I think this is the best Burkman that we've seen to date. So it's not necessarily going to be an easy fight because he's that talented, but at the same time, I mean, arguably Lombard, in my opinion, I have tons of respect for Robbie Lawler, but it's hard to say that he's not the best welterweight in the world or in the UFC right now.
All right, so then you wouldn't say that the line has gotten too high and that Burkman's worth a shot at plus 500.
I wouldn't bet this is the funny thing. I mean, I wouldn't bet the dog. I wouldn't take a stab at Burkman, but at the same time, I would avoid betting, I think, at the line right now, Lombard as well. So I don't think there's any value either way.
Yeah.
And I'd pass as far as,
sure.
The value standpoint.
Sometimes the lines are dead on, and if that does happen, then there's no value either way. All right, Adam Martin, maybe there's no value on Burkman or Lombard. Is there any way of betting this fight that you think might have value in terms of some kind of prop or the total?
Well, I think a lot of people think Lombard's going to win this fight by knockout, and it could happen. But like I said, Burkman has never been finished before by strikes, and I think the fight goes a little bit long. I wouldn't say long. It probably could end inside the distance, but I think it goes past 1.5. So maybe over 1.5 at minus 150. That's not bad. Again, though, it's a bit risky because of Lombard's knockout power. But like I said, I mean, Burkman has a very good chin. He's a tough dude. I don't know. It's a tough fight to call. Again, like this whole card, very, very difficult. There's going to be one of these fights that we just broke down. I think one of these guys is going to come through, but I don't think it's this fight. So I'm going with Lombard here. I think that he's a very, very, very likely winner.
We're all kind of in agreement then that Lombard is a justified huge favorite here. Might not be betting value anyway. Thanks so much, guys.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.